Yeah, I don't know. It's a derby. You never know what's going to happen. The
That's
hate
true.
is real.
Soccer situation.
Every single day I go to work, I'm tired.
Um,
But that's why you work in coffee.
I love getting up early. As people who know me know, will get out of bed when my cats wake me up at 4. I will happily get out of bed at 5. And if I ever am sleeping till 6 or 7, I wake up feeling like I slept in like,
Whole day is gone.
yeah. It's kind of crazy.
That's what happens when you work in a cafe and open a cafe at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, I think part of it is that I've spent most of my adult life working in coffee. Part of me lately has been wondering if it's just that I'm so extremely introverted that I subconsciously have skewed my schedule off of like humanity, um, intentionally
I get that.
to just like guarantee myself like a few hours a day of just quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is the best. That's why.
Yeah.
That's what I truly loved about mornings.
Oh, that's
when I worked at Intelligentsia.
yeah.
Being the first one in the building was the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, there's nothing subconscious about that. I love it too.
Yeah.
People used to think I was crazy because when I would open cafes or even other jobs, yeah, I would come in early and I mean have to be there at 5 a.m. and show up at 4:30 a.m. and just to give myself an extra half an hour just to have a cup of coffee and sit in the dark and just
Yep.
chill.
Put on
and
your own
quiet.
music if you want music. If you're feeling it that morning, put
Yeah.
some jams on.
I don't know how to transition that into the football. I was trying to think of a clever quip about loving early kickoffs too, but we've already well established that I hate early kickoffs.
Yeah, we all. Yeah. It's as much as we like being up and that early kickoff, the games tend to disappoint.
Yeah. To be clear, it's not that I hate getting up, but yeah, I just never like the game.
Yeah, the games usually disappoint us.
I'm still a little askew. I think I have finally. I think I have five. I know I have tested negative for COVID.
Yeah.
I'm out of the woods. I think I still feel a little fatigued from it. I definitely still don't have sense of smell or taste back yet.
Yeah, that's the worst. It's such a weird feeling. It's
Yeah.
a weird sensation to go through.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster. But as I said before, I think I am kind of glad that I finally got to experience like full blown COVID.
Yeah, you actually got sick because you didn't get sick last time.
No, I had no symptoms at all last time.
Yeah, and I did.
Yeah.
I got super sick last time.
Yeah, because it definitely eliminated like if I had any last remaining doubt somewhere in the back of my brain, it's like, man, I think the libs made all this up. Like seriously, like I know guys, like I'm in on it too, but like, is it like, did we make this up? Is this
I know,
like,
right?
Is this all just like nothing?
Did we really lie about this?
Yeah, I mean, did we all just exaggerate it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But now,
Now you felt the pain.
yeah, having lived the last 2 weeks of my life, I can safely say, no, we did not exaggerate it. That
No.
was not fun.
No.
Did you have any kind of life while I had COVID the whole time?
I was just working as usual, I think. I somehow managed to avoid COVID, even though I was surrounded by COVID for the last
Yeah, that's crazy.
10 days.
Yeah.
Somehow I haven't gotten it.
Like Neo in the Matrix, just dodging it,
I don't know how. Doesn't seem possible.
right? Alex brought home awesome, delicious, locally made ice cream tonight. I took a little taste, and guess what? I got no taste.
Yeah, you can't taste it. That's unfortunate because it's really good. Yeah, our first ice cream collaboration at Littlefoot Coffee. Tippy Cow in Granville.
Tippy
Nice.
cow.
Nice little local ice cream shop. They started as like an ice cream shop that was just serving like Breyers and like all the standard stuff.
Yeah.
And then they slowly transitioned, kind of like roasting. It was like they bought a little machine and then they bought a bigger machine and now they're like gonna try and do only their own ice cream in house this year.
Fantastic.
Which is exciting. And one of them's gonna be a coffee ice cream.
Yeah. Plus,
had
it
no
has a
idea.
sweet name, dude.
Yeah, Tippy Cow's a great name.
It's really fun to say.
Yeah, yeah. It's a quality name. Quality ice cream.
Anyway, there were one or two big games this weekend. Should we get on to the football?
Yeah, we can get on the football. There's plenty to talk about.
Right?
Plenty of laughs.
I didn't write much of an agenda, but we don't really need one because there were such massive kind of results that we can definitely do an hour on 2 games if we want to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, let's start. We've kind of always done that, are building a tradition of talking about the game we just watched, recording on Monday night.
Yeah, it's true.
We just came off of Brentford Fulham, which was exactly the wonderful little game of football that we predicted.
Yeah, it was.
We promised the loser of Liverpool versus Manchester United that they would get a little kind of chaser on Monday to wash it down.
Yeah.
Because this was just going to be a great game no matter what. And it was. Brentford won 3-2 at home over Fulham.
I didn't get to see as much of the game as you did. You watched the whole thing. I only saw the second half.
Mm-hmm.
But is it did it seem like Fulham, the scoreline flattered them a little bit? Because Brentford seemed like they deserved to win. And I know Fulham got like a late, stoppage time scrappy goal for nothing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair assessment. If you just see this scoreline and you think it was a super tense game, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a really slanted game, but Brentford definitely had the better of it. They were on the front foot, and they deserved their lead for sure. And yeah, I don't remember the minutes either because of the bong you might have heard earlier in the episode. But yeah, Fulham came back pretty late in the game.
Yeah,
I
90 plus 9. They got their goal.
Wait, they scored.
Fulham's second goal was a 90 plus 9, so
right,
it was basically a meaningless goal.
Got it. Okay. What I remember most is that Ivan Toney almost scored an absolutely absurd goal from his own half.
He tried. It was almost so like inches away.
Leno was panicking, backpedaling.
Yeah.
And yeah, it almost dropped in. That would have been good.
He slammed his wrist against that skate. He was running back as fast as he could, trying to get on that line.
Relegation battle update: Nottingham Forest 2, Everton 2.
Yes, points shared.
Everton led twice in this game. Is this points dropped for them, or?
I think so. I think this has to be based. I mean, on paper, Everton still has a strong squad of players that have been drastically underperforming. So to hold the lead twice and drop it, like that's definitely points dropped for them. It was pretty good game though. It was fun. It was fun to watch. What we did watch of it, it wasn't a bad game. I don't feel like I watch Forest play that often, and they're a decent team to watch.
Yeah, every time I've been watching more of Everton now, keeping a closer eye as they're in the relegation zone. I guess not a Schadenfreude or whatever. Their end result is I'm getting a better picture of where they're at, and even though they keep dropping points, I keep seeing a team that doesn't look like a relegation team now. They're still energized, and I still see more fighting like a team that's kind of coming together.
Yeah.
So
it'll be very interesting. I mean, that whole bottom half is going to be fun to watch the rest of the way.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today too. I feel like every single year there's always one team that is well and truly out.
Always.
Like by this point, 15 points adrift of everyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A team that literally, you look at the table and they have like 13 points and you're like, how is that possible?
Like they're already gone.
Yeah.
There's not that team this year. It's actually really tight still in the bottom 5 or 6.
It's fantastic.
It's fun. I hope it stays that way right up to the end.
Yeah. I hope so too. I hope that fight continues.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's going to. Every time you see one of these teams seemingly pull off a result that might see them move away, they get pulled right back into it. Speaking of relegation zone, West Ham, Brighton. So West Ham are, they're sitting 16th, but they're not far out of the relegation zone. So they have 23 points. Everton are on 22 now. So they're right in the middle of that fight. And they got taken to pieces by Brighton. I only saw the highlights of this game, so I don't know if it was, 100% dominance. But based on the highlights of this game, Brighton had some beautiful goals. All of their build-up play and everything looked amazing. Yeah, West Ham, I guess I kind of forget in my head that West Ham are down there. I'm used to them now kind of being a solid team and thinking of them around 8th, 9th place.
Well, they had a big win last week. They won 4-0.
Oh yeah, they
So
did. That's
over
right.
was it Southampton?
Did they win? Let's see. Scroll back. Yeah, no, Forest.
So
They beat Forest 4-0.
So there's a fun little rotation going on down there. They had a massive win for them, 4-0 against Forest. And then they had that result flipped on them this week.
Against a much better Brighton team.
If they hadn't had that result, which was completely out of character against Forest, I think this is kind of exactly the result you would have predicted
Yeah.
in Brighton West Ham. Because this Brighton team's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny we were worried for them at the beginning of the season when Potter left.
Yeah.
And De Zerbi seems to have really kind of taken the ball and run with it.
Yeah, he picked up right. It's like he never left.
Yeah.
They picked up right where he left off.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm happy because I like that Brighton team.
It's crazy how you can really see in and out down to the bones of that club, like how healthy that club is. They seem to have a system in place like the best run clubs of Europe do.
Yep.
In which they know what they need and they find like the tools and the personnel they need. Like De Zerbi, I'm saying, fits into their system perfectly.
Yeah, they knew the squad they had. They made the right signing for the fit for those players, and he just fit right in. It's like nothing changed.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
And they do the same thing with players. They just shift. They're another one of those clubs that just like shifts players in for a cheap fee, sells them for a big fee, and then finds just another great player.
Yeah,
their scouting system's fantastic.
In the last, say, 4 years, I don't think you can argue anyone has done it better.
No, they've been phenomenal. I mean, even now, like I'm looking at Matoma scored. That dude has been unbelievable this season. Where do they find him from?
I know, I'm mad about it.
I'm like, as much as obviously I love Trossard and I think that's a great signing.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, I really wish we would have signed Matoma too.
Right.
But yeah, and then also just a funny note is Danny Welbeck scoring. I love anytime Danny Welbeck pops up with a goal. He got their fourth.
That's okay. That's a good note for Arsenal fans, I suppose, or even Manchester United fans that have a good memory.
They might have a fond memory from some of them.
Yeah.
Although he scored against them in the FA Cup and knocked them out right after he signed for us, I think.
How bad does it have to get at West Ham before it's time for Moyes to go?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's tough to say because he has such a, he's built up such a reputation.
He's a good manager for. It's always condescending to say a club of that size because West Ham have obviously been a massive club, but they've also been a championship club in recent history.
Yeah, exactly. And more people probably know them as that than as as American soccer fans.
Right?
We know them as the club they are now more than their historic, massive status. But yeah, no, he did it at Everton so long ago. But do you think he's still just riding that high of his like overachieving Everton teams?
I don't know.
Or do you
His
think
West Ham looked legit for a while, at least.
It's true. You think his tactics just like his one of those managers just burns out with the players? Like people just fall out of love with him or get annoyed with his team talks or whatever.
I really don't know. I guess I asked the question without having any kind of answer, because I can't speak to really the inner workings of West Ham right now.
Yeah.
I don't really even know, in terms of their squad, how long everyone's been there. If it's just as simple as needing a refresh, like Liverpool so obviously do. You know? It could be something like that.
It's true.
So I'm not trying to throw Moyes under the bus here or anything like that.
I really don't think I can't see him going unless maybe they get relegated, then he leaves.
Right.
I don't see them firing him before the end of the season.
Yeah, that kind of seems like the obvious line to draw, I guess.
Yeah. I think you just got to put your faith in him getting out of this trouble and then try and rebuild for next season.
Chelsea got their first win in quite a while.
Yeah.
It's a funny win in that none of their attackers have
scored a single goal.
Yeah, they still haven't scored a goal. They won 1-0 to a Leeds own goal.
To be fair, I feel like João Felix, I watched that game and he rang the bar a couple of times. It looked like there were some amazing shots, but still funny that they haven't scored.
Yeah, I know. Those are the most fun times to talk shit when there was definitely just an element of bad luck to it. And we've already kind of backed João Felix here.
Yeah, I think he's a good player
But
still.
we want him on the open market, so we want him missing those
Yeah,
chances.
yeah.
We don't, because Boley didn't watch the game. He probably doesn't know.
No,
that he
I hope
played
he's not
well.
paying attention.
He's just checking in with the headlines. He didn't score any
no
goals.
goals. He missed a couple chances.
We're paying
Okay.
him $750,000 a week.
Yep. Nope.
A week.
Gone.
He didn't score any goals. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what we want to be
That's-
happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's the fantasy that's playing out in my head.
Yep. I need him to move somewhere way better than that. I like him as a player.
Yeah. Chelsea have a handful of players I really like. Liverpool getting linked stronger and stronger with Mason Mount by the day. Chelsea fans reach out. I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think another player we've seen ups and downs of so far, and it's flashes of brilliance. Maybe Klopp can get him dialed in.
This episode of Soccer Situations is brought to you by Littlefoot Coffee. I mean, what can I say about Littlefoot Coffee? They're not just friends of the pod, they're family of the pod, quite literally. Alex started Littlefoot years ago after more than a decade of roasting experience, roasting coffee for some of the hottest, most fashionable, and most importantly, tasty specialty coffee roasters in America. My favorite thing about it is that it's just really high-grade coffee without a drop of pretense. You're not going to find a bunch of weird, savory notes that the roaster is passing off as intentional. It's just really sweet, comforting flavors that everybody wants in their coffee. And now, for a limited time only, you can get 15% off at littlefootcoffee.com. Promo code SITUATIONS. Once again, you can get 15% off at littlefootcoffee.com using the promo code SITUATIONS. Yeah.
You know, maybe he just needs a new lease on life. Chelsea could be a draining place to play, honestly.
I like what I've seen from Mason Mount. I definitely
Yeah.
wouldn't have an issue.
Depending on the fee, I think might be a good deal.
Yeah, he wouldn't be leaving on a free. I think he'll have 6 months left on his contract this summer.
I still bet you could get him for fairly cheap if he doesn't want to stay.
You'd imagine so, but
Yeah.
I
I mean,
know.
cheap as in you're going to pay like 30, 40 million still probably for a player who's 6 months left on his contract, which is absurd, but
Right.
You
At
know.
least there is some transfer history between the clubs. So
That's true.
sometimes with the big clubs, there's an extortionate fee added just because the clubs don't want to do business with each other.
yeah. And that I can't see that. Well, frankly, Chelsea don't really have much choice but to sell players in the summer.
That's actually a huge point. Thank you
So-
for the reminder. We've been talking about that since the dawn of the pod.
Yeah, so you do kind of have some leverage there. They do need to get players moved on. Obviously, they're going to want to get good fees for them, but reality is they've got to move 2 or 3 out of that front line at least. So
All right,
might not be a bad
That's
move.
a great analysis of that Chelsea Leeds game. Let's talk about Wolves 1, Tottenham 0.
Ooh.
The only note I have is funny Super Mario goal from Traore.
Yeah, that's really the only thing I remember about the game at all is the Traore moment. I remember him coming on covered in baby oil, and I commented on that because it looked like it was all over his kit as well. And I was like, how do they let him do this?
Yeah. I did watch that game, and it had a pretty binary switch. Tottenham pretty well on top in the first half. They kind of wore themselves out, kind of a classic rope-a-dope scenario, to be honest. Wolves made a few key substitutions, Traore being one of them.
Yeah.
And it was a firing squad in the end, the last 20 minutes of that game.
That's what
Wolves
you
were
said,
just
yeah.
going at it, dude.
Yeah.
They could have easily had a handful. In the end, the one they got, it was a funny goal, though. I just have this image of Adama Traore stuck in my head, jumping like old school, like NES Mario, where he only really has 2 poses. When he jumps, his arms go out and his
Yep.
legs go out. Cha-ching!
And then
You
his
know?
like little foot
Yeah.
went forward and hit the ball.
Yeah, he did like a funny little jump kick and scored a hell of a goal.
Yeah, it was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, and it was a massive 3 points for Wolves.
Huge. And tough break for Tottenham.
It was a tough break for Tottenham. I guess not really because they had their chances, didn't really take them, blew themselves out. Conte's game management in terms of substitutions and bench management didn't really make sense to me. I don't know. It just felt like Lopetegui made better adjustments. It seems like Conte wound him up and set him out there and let him do their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was no real thought process behind it. He was just like, here you go. Go out there and do a job.
No, let's talk about Manchester City 2, Newcastle 0.
Yeah. I expected a lot more from this game.
Yeah, same. Newcastle coming off a tough loss in the League Cup final.
Yep.
That was a big one for them. Their first cup final, or a chance for their first trophy in over 50 years, I think.
Yeah, huge.
Um,
Huge moment for them. So obviously a big letdown coming off of that, but you would think they'd be wanting to bounce straight back with a big result. And yeah, it kind of just I don't remember a ton about the game, but I think it's mostly because it wasn't all that interesting of a game.
Definitely overshadowed by some other matches this weekend.
Yeah, Foden scored in the 15th minute to give City the lead. And I kept waiting for Newcastle to get a spark of life and start, because they can, when Newcastle streams forward quickly on the counter, they're deadly. But it seemed like there's weird lineup choices by Eddie Howe. It seemed very, very conservative and almost scared, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, I remember us just absolutely ranting that he had Callum Wilson and Anthony Gordon on the pitch and San Maximin and Isak on the bench.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
That's insanity.
Yeah, it was just a weird lineup.
Like only a British coach can make those choices.
And like Chelsea, Newcastle had 2 clear-cut chances, and Callum Wilson completely missed it. A chance, easy chance, and then Joel Linton later in the game had one go right under his foot. Both of them probably.
Right.
7 yards out, square right in the middle of the goal.
Yeah, that
beautiful ball
Joel
in.
Linton one was egregious.
Yeah, beautiful ball into him in the space in between the defenders, and they both just fluffed it. So they had their moments, but it was just a weird lineup, unexpected. I was expecting more from Newcastle. And then Bernardo Silva's goal just seemed too easy. It almost just seemed like he just kind of popped up in the middle of the box and then just poked it into the goal.
That's one of those Manchester City goals, isn't it? When they're clicking, that's how their goals look. It just looks like a blueprint, like a diagram of football.
Yeah, it's just ball, pass, and then there's somehow always a guy in the middle of the box,
just right open, in the right place,
just tapping it in.
Right.
And then that was basically it. Once they got that second goal, Newcastle didn't have much to offer.
No. So City keeping up the pressure on the title race.
Yeah, keeping the pressure on. With 5 points still the gap, but
right,
still have to play Arsenal again. So
the other team from Manchester did not keep up the pressure as well this weekend.
No. I think everyone was predicting. I think it was a 2-horse race before this, but I think a lot of people in the media want to talk about United as the third horse in that race.
There's a whole industry of people crouched and waiting on the starting line to fire up their
Every
credit card
headline
readers for Manchester United to be a success again.
Yep.
Because again, we had a really great preview episode to this game. Thanks again to Graham for coming on.
Yeah.
It was super, super fun.
It was.
We hope
great.
to have him on again.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do more of those.
So I feel like I want to preface this talk by saying apologies in advance to all my Man United friends.
They're hurting deep right now.
Yeah, Graham, Paco, Dylan, or Logan. I can never remember which of the twins supports United because they have intentionally confusing Instagram handles in which they both have the same name. But anyway, you guys, I'm sorry,
But, sometimes each team's got to have their day.
I was going to say, we won 7-0 against Manchester United. I have the right to enjoy this a little bit.
Yeah,
you all would bask in it as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it classy. I'm not going to really roll around in it or anything.
And you could.
We got to talk about it. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun and it was shocking.
Talking about it. It was truly shocking. I wasn't, I made a joke on Instagram already about how I have to have a tradition of having flattering Man United episodes before the derby now because we had literally a historic result. But No, I was not expecting that. I was truly expecting us to get beaten. I can be quoted directly as saying I feared a mauling such as the 5-0 we gave them at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's true. You did say that.
There was a mauling.
Yeah,
but
it's just the other way.
We just gave it again. We like to give a mauling.
Yeah. And we just watched back the extended highlights not long ago, and
I've watched the game in
Todd was
complete
frustrated
more than once.
frustrated with watching the first half highlights where they only showed United chances for the entire first half highlight section.
Yeah, again, reminders that apology I already gave, so this is a free pass. But there's going to be kind of a recurring theme of my conspiracy theory of the way the media handles Manchester United throughout this conversation. And Alex just pointed out the one thing. I watched the game in its entirety again this morning. Before me and Alex recently just watched extended highlights. And Liverpool had some brilliant passages of play in that first half. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
That one that ended in that curling, kind of tame Robertson chance in particular. And they didn't show any of that in the highlights package.
No.
All they showed were United attacks because they're trying to shape the story that United was kind of the dominant team in the first
half of the game.
And then it flipped, which annoys me.
You're 100% right. But I do feel like there were more chances for United than I remembered.
Oh, no. I was very aware of those United chances.
Yeah,
They were terrifying. That the Bruno header across goal that
looked like it should have gone in. Yeah.
No, they had their chances. I remember saying, in my nervous moments watching the game, but they've got this. United has firepower, though.
Yeah.
No matter. And it's funny because, again, in my defense, I was saying that because Liverpool were having really sustained spells of pressure. Really, really, we were pressing high. We were regaining possession in the final third again, like we used to. But, United were carving out the best chances of the half on those counterattacks. I'm not denying
Yeah, they
that.
were lethal on the counterattack. Clearly going to be dangerous, at least in that first half. They were going to take chances.
Right.
But
And then just a few minutes before half, Andy Robertson, he plays like a Tasmanian devil, but he shows such good intelligence and patience, such good patience to hold this ball and kind of move himself inside and wait for that gap to open. And he plays this perfectly vertical ball through the channel that Gakpo runs onto.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ball.
Such a good ball from Robertson. And then Gakpo does what Dutch wingers, he does cardboard cutout Dutch winger activities.
Yeah.
Cuts inside and just hits it to the far post.
It's a beautiful finish.
Yeah, it's lethal stuff.
Classic winger coming in from the left.
Right.
Beautiful, the run and everything, perfect. Exactly what you would draw up when you're thinking of what you want your winger to do to score a goal. It's
good.
Perfect.
Yeah, in all honesty, not a lot United could do about that one.
No.
It was a beautiful ball from Robertson, perfectly weighted. Again, as I said, he found the perfect gap, and that finish was so great. That took us to halftime. On the other side of half, we scored almost immediately. Not such a beautiful goal, a little more of a scramble and kind of a bundled header from Darwin.
Yeah. Still not like the pretty build up, but I think the ball from Elliott was nice to pick out Nunez in the middle.
Yeah.
It was a nice ball.
It was. It was very Harvey Elliott ball.
Yeah. Chaos.
The play, I think, started from a failed cross, and the ball fell to Elliott, and he put it back. He kind of just hammered a ball across the 6-yard box.
Yeah. Right on Nunez's forehead, basically.
Yeah, but I'm not saying he didn't know anything about it. He knew Nunez was standing there, and he got the ball to him as quickly as he could.
Yeah, and it was easy. Yeah, in the end, it was an easy finish. He just headed it in, basically, to an open net.
Right. Let's move straight on to the third goal. Why not? There's a little bit of time between these goals, but we don't need to cover every minute of the game. The third goal is my favorite of the bunch. Back to Cody Gakpo. He actually starts the play. Hits a nice midfield ball, diagonal out wide for Salah to run onto. At first, I was worried he sent Salah a little bit too far wide.
Yeah, it seemed like he might have.
But the play was salvaged by this incredible dribble from Salah that sat Sandro Martinez on his ass.
Yeah, it spun him around, and then he fell over. Then when he turned back to face Salah, he was gone, and then he fell
He
over
tried
basically.
to sprint and like slipped and fell.
Hilarious.
And right as he's falling, Salah slips this lovely little through ball. Gakpo, who had made the original through ball onto Salah out wide, continued his run and runs onto Salah's return ball, right about at the goal line.
Yeah, pretty tight. It was very tight.
Super tight.
You could have think that like it was gone for him at that
Right.
point.
David De Gea closing down the near post, and he just hits this lovely little chip that arcs over De Gea and just curls just inside.
Such a
the far
classy
post.
finish.
Yeah, I think Alex heard me make some like weird sounds when this goal went in. I remember going like, kind of one of those, right? And every replay, the goal just looked better and better.
Yeah.
There was one angle where it just really showed how that ball arced so perfectly, like a rainbow over De Gea.
Perfectly over him.
Just like so tantalizingly out of his reach.
Yeah, because you can't really tell from the angle of the replays, but I know there is like Varane's kind of back.
Mhm.
So if he floats that too high, there's a chance Varane or somebody could get in the air and clear it out.
Yeah.
So it had to be deft and like just over him, and it was perfect.
It was flawless.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. And the way he just continued his momentum as it arced into the net, his momentum carried him to stand perfectly in front of the cop. He just stood with his arms out in front of the cop looking at it. That was for me, and I think for a lot of Liverpool fans, that's the moment where we can finally like cease our mourning for Sadio Mane. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Gakpo's one of us now. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
He's
good. That's a
here.
good feeling.
yeah,
Yeah. That's a good feeling when you're trying, you're refreshing your front line
yeah,
and you see two of them start clicking
yeah.
in a big way.
Yeah, pretty wholesome moments for both him and Darwin. I don't remember the order. Oh, God, got so many goals left to talk about.
Yeah, I know.
Who got
right?
the fourth one? Was it Darwin again?
No, Salah.
Oh, Salah. That's
It's
right.
his funny lucky bounce goal, but what a hit.
Yeah, Salah honestly got 2 goals served up to him on a platter.
Yep.
It's kind of what he's needed this season. He hasn't really had the confidence to carve out goals on his own as he used to.
Yeah. He's not burning people and creating beautiful goals that way anymore.
This one, he was making a run, and I think it was kind of a broken counter attack and a ball. McTominay made a great tackle to break up the original pass.
Yeah.
And then we tried to play the ball in again, and it was deflected off another defender.
I think it hit McTominay again.
Was it McTominay again?
Yeah, I think it hit him again as the brush tried to play it back in.
It just falls right along a running Salah, and he just belts it with his right foot, his weak foot.
Yeah, he bounced like 2 foot off the ground, like perfectly in the air, and sat up for him, and he just fired it into the roof of the net.
Yeah, it was the kind of ball that bounced in front of, like, even if you weren't a footballer, you would just be so tempted just to smack it. You know?
Yeah, mine would have gone way over the net, but his technique was much better.
Yeah,
But
right off the underside
it
of the
was
bar.
one of those you just want to hit.
Cannoned off the underside of the bar. You know that made a great sound in the stadium,
Yeah, it's a beautiful hit. You got to give him that.
right? Yeah.
And then we're back to Nunez for the 5th goal.
Nunez, this was an awesome one, too. Delivery from the left side. He makes a nice little run and sends a looping header to the far corner of the goal.
Yeah.
Far post. They were saying there was an element of luck about this because it came off the back of his head, but he absolutely meant this header. I thought it was brilliant.
It looked like he meant it, the way he flicked his head back at it.
Yeah, he flicks his head backwards. Funny header, not conventional,
No, definitely not.
deadly
but
lethal, and I'm giving it to him. I loved it.
yeah, I thought it was a good goal.
Good goal. Hey, what's up, Leopold? We got animal invasion. I think.
Unexpected Leopold visit.
Now,
Yeah, then Salah's the next goal.
Yeah, no, that was another little kind of ricochet that just
Just
fell
bouncing around the box.
fell to the feet of Mohamed Salah in the 6-yard box, and he just tapped it home. I was going to say we need to take a break from the goals to kind of discuss what was happening with Manchester United's squad at this point in the game.
Yeah.
There's been a huge fallout.
With Bruno Fernandes.
That might be melodramatic, but there are actually, Bruno Fernandes in particular.
I mean, amongst like legends of the club, there's been a fallout over the way the squad reacted to this result.
It's generally, it's being said that they essentially gave up. They folded and capitulated. And it isn't just ex-United players. The manager, Eric Ten Hag, called it an unprofessional performance.
Yeah.
He said this could not happen. That's pretty damning stuff. Why are there suddenly like 3 pets all over?
I don't know where the cats all came out at once.
I'll keep an eye on the sound. I don't see them causing any particular.
I think they're
catch-up.
fine.
What is wrong with you guys?
It's funny.
We're doing kind of a bad job of talking about this, but United's morale definitely flagged, and it was particularly evident in Fernandez. I think the most egregious moment was after Liverpool had made a few subs, and Bajcetic was dribbling on the down on the right flank. Bruno went to leave a pretty cynical leg in on him. I'm not even going to act like he was trying to play the ball. Bajcetic managed to dribble him and play on, and Bruno didn't even give chase. He just kind of sulked and walked away.
Yep.
Pretty embarrassing stuff there.
Yeah, he definitely didn't cover himself in glory in that game. There was a lot of crying, a lot of moments, where he was complaining and walking away from the play.
Yeah.
Instead, while the play was still going. There was moments like that where he was too busy complaining about calls not going their way.
Right. I've seen United fans defending him, saying that, a lot of times captains are sons of bitches. Steven Gerrard was dirty, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Roy Keane, yada, yada. This is a different kind of dirty, though.
Yeah.
Those guys weren't dirty. They were fighters, but they were playing the game. I don't know. I should have a more eloquent speech lined up if I'm going to attack him, because I know how much United fans love him.
I mean, I just think it's not a good look for your club ever. And as somebody who we not long ago had Granit Xhaka storming off the pitch and throwing the armband and screaming at fans, and we've had our dark days with captains that weren't fitting to wear the armband. Even Aubameyang toward the end, just not trying, wearing the armband out there. But there's moments you expect more from him.
Right.
There. You expect him to, I don't care if it's 5-0 already, you expect him to be yelling at players and getting them up for it.
Right.
Instead of just sulking and adding to the negative mood.
Yeah, I think you nailed it pretty much when you said it's not a good look. That's a really simple way of saying it. But really, there's an argument that a captainship really doesn't mean anything in modern football. Obviously, the refs talk to everybody. Yeah, it's a pretty symbolic position. But the fact that it's symbolic means that it should symbolize your kind of what you want your team to ideally be, and what you want it to be a kind of a visual representation of your club and your ideals.
Yeah, and I think Ten Hag has to do something about it.
Right.
Not, maybe in the locker room he didn't lose respect amongst his teammates or anything, but it looks weak if he doesn't respond in some way.
Yeah.
To the public after that display.
Right.
And there's got to be somebody else in the line. Look at Martinez.
That's the next point I was going to make, is they have so many leaders in that team now. There was a period of time where they didn't have any leaders, and sure, I guess give it to the best player because maybe he'll inspire people.
Yeah, animal drama.
Bailey, stop it. Bailey, come here. That brings me back to another point I was going to make earlier. I'm not saying he's not a great player. You'd be an idiot
not
to deny that. But he's definitely not a leader either.
No, I don't think he's a leader at all. You can't deny his talent, and I understand giving him the captaincy for that reason, because he can, when things go well, he can lead your team.
Mm-hmm.
But when things fall apart, I think he's shown that he's not the man you need to inspire the people around him.
Now, there's half a dozen guys in that squad that would be better in the role. Okay.
On to the last. Should we just talk about the last goal, because it's
So
due to the news, it's a fun one.
I mean, just this game couldn't possibly have been going any better than I could have dreamed.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I mean, you would have never ever dreamed this up.
when we had 3, I said, just give me 4 just so I can relax, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I needed 4 to relax. That's how much I rated United going into this.
Yeah, it's true. You said that early on. You're like, I just need the 4th goal, 3rd or 4th goal, so I can just chill out and
Yeah.
relax and have fun.
With 6, and that 6 so like beautifully and like satisfyingly split between 2 for Salah, 2 for Gakpo, and 2 for Nunez. It's
Yeah, that was
so
very satisfying.
And then we bring on Roberto Firmino, who sadly this week announced that he would be leaving the club in the summer. I can extend this podcast by 20 more minutes,
Talking
just
about
waxing
Bobby.
poetic
Yeah.
about how much I love Roberto Firmino. I'll just say he's the single iconic player representing Klopp's era of Liverpool for me. Anyway, Bobby comes on, does his thing, scores a goal almost immediately. Kind of a funny goal.
Funny goal, yeah.
David De Gea, you could argue, could have done better with it, but it was a pretty unpredictable shot from Firmino.
Yeah, I think it seemed like he didn't know what to expect from Firmino there because he was at a tight angle. So you wouldn't expect the striker to really try and shoot from there.
Bobby, a famously selfless striker as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he probably does know that. Obviously, he's been playing against him in the league for years.
Yeah.
He knows Bobby's more likely to do a back heel or some kind of flick or pass before he's going to try and score from there.
Yeah, Firmino, again, almost right on the goal line, just outside the post. De Gea down covering the near post. Men in the middle of the box. Firmino had a pass to play, and instead he spins 180 degrees and just fires it kind of right through De Gea's legs / just past De Gea
Yeah, I think
and the
as
near
he
post.
was like kneeling down, it went just under his legs.
He just kind of left a gap. Awkward goal for De Gea to give up. That made it 7 for Liverpool, meaning it was the greatest ever defeat of Manchester United in Premier League history.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty shocking stuff.
Did not see that coming when the day started.
Considering a week ago we were talking about United being back and being title contenders, I don't think anybody saw this coming.
You know, it was kind of a surrealist game, really. I didn't see it coming, and I don't even really feel as giddy about it as I did when we won 5-0 at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I feel kind of just like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like stunning. It hasn't really sunk in.
Really, I guess maybe just it's because it was so much less expected because of the context of our season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really, really strange result. And I don't know if I've said this yet, but I want to say I don't think this result means anything more than the 3 points. I don't think Ten Hag is a fraud and this is going to fall apart.
No.
I don't think Liverpool are back and all of us, we're just going to go on a rampage all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see this waking us up. That is a remote possibility, but nothing is that simple.
I mean, the one thing I will say is I do think this puts an end to United being in the title race.
Oh, yeah, I think that's...
But, yeah, that I don't think they're going to suddenly capitulate and just never win the rest of the season. They'll be back.
Of course. If I'm going to end this on a smug note, I'll say I did enjoy this as an overall statement that you can't just undo the past nearly decade of work that Klopp has done and what we've built here. And United can't just flip a switch and be back to being an empire builder. And so this was a pretty timely reminder. I think every non-United fan, we can all unite and say that they kind of needed this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did. They did need to be grounded a little bit.
There were too many Fergie-like revolution headlines on the BBC in the past week for my taste.
Yeah, for results that weren't necessarily like mind-blowing results.
Well, the team looks great. They're obviously drastically improving, but
they're very much improved, and they're on the right track, and that's like the project. But yeah, and it's not necessarily United's fault as like a Ten Hag or as a club, you know. Mm-hmm. It's the English media. It's just always going to do this anytime they start to come back.
Right.
They're always going to be so excited to have their baby back.
Right. Anyway, I think that just about covers that massive game.
Yeah. Fun and unexpected.
just in my random notes, shout out to Luke Shaw, who played, I think, one of the balls of the season, didn't come to anything. Rashford kind of flubbed the chance in the end.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a
shocking
stunning
with
ball.
Rashford's form,
I
too.
was just glancing at my notes and saw that. I forgot to mention it.
That was beautiful.
Should we move on to Bournemouth Arsenal?
Yeah.
Or was it Arsenal Bournemouth?
Arsenal Bournemouth. Dramatic game.
Yeah, this is a game that could have had potential to have massive reverberations at one end of the table or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dive in.
So Bournemouth second bottom when coming in.
Yeah.
Arsenal top of the league. Started in absolute insane fashion. Was it 9 seconds?
Yeah.
After kickoff, Philip Billing puts Bournemouth ahead. Absolutely insane. We were sitting down, fresh coffee made, and before we could even think about it, I don't even think I was settled into the fact that I was watching the game yet, and it was in the back of the net.
Yeah.
I was just I was stunned.
Yeah, it reminded me of one of those times. Like that happened to me when Torres scored that great goal against Blackburn back in the day. And I was literally in the kitchen grabbing the Chemex, and you were like, "Oh, you missed a great Torres goal." It was like that.
Exactly.
Except this one was 9 seconds. It was
Insane.
Felt faster than that.
Yeah, funny goal. They clearly had a game plan. That was a set play from the start.
Mm-hmm.
They quickly played the ball through the right, up the right wing, and crossed the ball into the box. And what should have been a fairly routine clearance just slipped right under Gabriel's foot, who I think up until this point and even throughout the rest of this game, I think he's been brilliant recently.
Yeah, that was a tough break for Gabby.
But yeah, 9 seconds of the game, I don't even think he was awake yet. It slipped right under his foot. And I think that was just enough to throw off the defenders behind him, supporting him. And Billing snuck perfectly in. Sneaky little run right behind the two defenders to tap it in, basically, or fire it in underneath Ramsdale.
Right.
So wild start to the game. I don't think anyone really could have predicted that or could have been prepared for that start. And like I said, I think I said during the game, it was almost like it didn't even happen. It was almost like, oh, the game started again. And it was almost like there was a false start to the game, and then the game just picked back up. So, yeah, I think the game as a whole, I think Arsenal just controlled the game for the most part.
Sure.
They weren't nearly clinical enough with their finishing through the first half. Lot of missed chances, a lot of poor decisions with shots. So not a ton exciting happened in the rest of the first half.
So would you say you were feeling stressed at halftime, or no? Were you pretty confident you were going to come back and do this?
1-0 down, I don't think I was stressed at all.
No.
I think I had confidence based on form. We lose Trossard to injury, which is a bummer, but we do have some depth now, which is nice. We can bring players. Smith Rowe coming on was nice to have him back, and then also just nice to have some depth on the bench. But yeah, I think I was confident at halftime we could come back. Second half starts, Arsenal again mostly controlling the game, Bournemouth getting their chances, mostly trying to feed off the break. I mean, they set up in a 5-4-1. They weren't really trying to be too adventurous, but their set pieces are always dangerous. So they get in the 57th minute, right in the center of the box, beautiful header, and put them 2-0 up in the 57th minute. And at that point, I was definitely stressing.
Yeah, definitely. If that second goal comes in the first half, you're very stressed.
Yeah.
If they get a second goal deep into the second half, it's exponential.
At that point, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if we can just come out of this with a point, that's a huge result for us.
Right. That's
that
exactly
keeps
where
us
your
a
mind
3-point
goes.
gap. That's a huge result. We have to get back in this game somehow. And it felt like much longer at the time, being 2-0 down. But just 5 minutes later, kind of a scrappy goal. Ball kind of bouncing around in the box after a corner. I think it comes back and it's bouncing around the box, and Smith Rowe kind of just keeps it alive and heads it to the back post, where Thomas Partey comes flying in and pokes it into the goal.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful moment. So I think 2-1. All of a sudden, the place goes crazy. The Emirates is rocking. I think everyone's starting to believe they can maybe do it. I did note too, Thomas, as he's running back to the center circle, He pulls up his jersey a tiny bit to show something. He's in a shirt where he wants to obviously he
Celebration
scored.
message.
He wanted this, put a message out to somebody. But he's also he knows how important this game is for Arsenal that he doesn't do the full celebration. He just lifts his shirt up a little and then puts it right back down and continues running back to his position. And I feel a little bad for him that he didn't get to really celebrate it, but I respect him for his commitment to the cause.
It depends on what the message was. If it was for like a cancer kid, I feel bad.
Yeah.
If it was,
like Jesus Christ or something.
If it was I belong to Jesus, I'm glad.
I'm happy we didn't have to see it.
Yeah.
But no, huge goal, obviously. So 2-1 down, 62nd minute. Arsenal's got basically 30 minutes to turn it around. And then the second goal, the game-tying goal, 8 minutes later, Reece Nelson has come on at this point, which is good to see him back. Just a little note for him. He didn't get a lot of game time this season at all. And then when he was finally getting game time through injury after Jesus was out, he himself got injured again, and the poor kid's had a terrible record with injuries so far. Still not a player. I think a lot of Arsenal fans would admit this even after his display. I think they're not convinced he'll stay long term, or if he is good enough to be there long term, or what the plan is for him. I think there are talks of new contracts for him, but I'm sure they're probably lowballing him with contracts right now. Maybe this goal will turn it around for him. But yeah, so Nelson coming down the left wing whips a ball across the box. Unexpected man at the back post. Ben White with a funny little poke in goal. Classic goal where you're heart and mouth for a moment because he gets a good amount on the ball and plays it in, but the keeper scoops it out and throws it out. And in live, it looked like it went in, but you couldn't tell. It was close enough to where there was no chance you were going to be able to tell whether that was over the line or not.
Yeah, no chance at all.
And I think Ben White was confident it went over, but even he was hesitant to start celebrating quite yet.
Yeah. It's funny how well goal line tech works considering how bad they are at implementing VAR.
Yeah, right?
Goal line tech is so black and white. It's so nice. You just see the ref get the vibration on his hand.
Yep.
And he's just like, that's a goal. It's almost instant.
Yeah, it was really fast.
So you don't lose the momentum of the celebration.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ben White hesitates for a split second and then takes off running back towards center circle again.
Yeah.
And he's laughing the whole way back. You can tell he can't believe it was him either.
Well, it's funny. Really, without spoiling the third goal, all three of your goal scorers are pretty unlikely goal scorers.
Yeah.
Today.
And the
boys stepped up when they were needed.
They did, yeah. Jesus is out, and Kedia is out. Trossard was hurt in the first half. They needed people to step up and get the goals in this game. And you got to say, if you watch the game, Odegaard certainly tried his damnedest to get those goals. He shot, I think he had 11 shots or something in the second half of the game alone. Wow. Arsenal had 31 shots total. So these aren't on target, but these 31 shots total. So he took 11 of those shots in the second half.
That's amazing.
And if you watch it, he clearly was determined to score.
Yeah.
He kept shooting from outside the box. But in the end, so Arsenal scored in the 70th minute. So 2-2 in the 70th minute. You got to be feeling good as an Arsenal fan having 20 minutes left to get another goal at that point. I think everybody in the stadium believed that goal would come.
I think so. When the momentum is shifting like that, and there's that much time left.
And Bournemouth, they're down in the relegation zone, so the confidence isn't high.
Yeah,
that kind of atmosphere.
It's set up to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle for them the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's almost like dominoes are falling.
So Arsenal were just peer pressure the rest of the game. So they get one last corner. So actually, we were just watching. I think it's either a corner or set piece. The ball basically gets easily scooped up by Neto in goal. And it's like, I think it was the 95, 38 or something like that, 96th minute. There was 6 minutes of added time. Mm-hmm. But there was some time wasting and some things that happened during added time.
As there always is these days.
Of course, yes. So Arsenal, there was going to be slightly over the 96 minutes, but at that moment when Neto has the ball in his hands, I'm like, this is over. Somehow Arsenal get the ball back in their hands, back downfield, get another corner, take another shot, deflect it out for a corner. So 97th minute, basically last kick of the game. Corner comes in, ball goes out to Reese Nelson on the edge of the box. He takes a perfect little touch to put it into into the path of his left foot, and just drives one into the far corner of the net. And the place just goes absolutely insane from that moment on.
Cleared only as far as Nelson has to get his shot right. Unbelievable! Gutting for Bournemouth. Glorious for Arsenal.
Celebrations are super funny. There's a couple players that collapse to the pitch when it goes in. And then Saliba takes off running on his own. I think he thinks the team was going to follow him to the corner to celebrate. And he just runs off and kicks the corner flag all by himself. He turns around and no one's around him at all. Because Reese Nelson kind of just stands and doesn't really celebrate at first and just kind of stands and looks around for a brief moment.
It seemed like he didn't really understand the scale of the occasion for a second there.
I feel like it took him by surprise as well. He hit that in and just kind of stood and was like, what just happened? And then took off running. But he was immediately mobbed by the whole team.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, obviously, team, the coaches, all of the substitutes, everyone was on the pitch. Definitely a little out of control with the celebration.
I mean, Richard Keys would say it was out of control.
Yeah. But it was amazing.
I think that's an appropriate celebration given the context.
To be fair, you got to say I'll contradict myself in just a second here, but you got to say there weren't like 10 fans on the field running around or anything.
Right. That's true.
Most of the fans were going insane.
Yeah.
But they were in the stands going insane.
Right. True.
The one moment that is actually a very, very funny moment. If you can find the clip, you should watch it. During the madness and the celebration by the bench, Mikel Arteta turns around and, without really thinking, I think it just instinctively high fives a child who is on the sideline. A young child, probably a 5-year-old,
a tiny little child.
And without really thinking, you can tell Arteta just so excited, turns around and just high fives this kid, and then but as he's swinging his right arm through to high five him, and his face comes around into picture again. In that split second, you can see he realizes that he just high-fived the child on the pitch at the Emirates.
Yeah.
And his head immediately turns to like horror as he grabs the kid and tries to go find security to pass him off to.
Yeah, he switches from celebrating to like, oh my God, there's a strange child here on the pitch.
Yeah,
I need to find this kid's parents.
Randomly on the pitch. And he high-fives them. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Better than Liverpool's pitch invader. Liverpool had a teenage pitch invader for the last goal celebration, I think, that almost injured Andy Robertson. And this poor kid got screamed at by Klopp for his efforts.
Yeah.
But not to hijack the conversation. Back to Arsenal.
Yeah. No. We talked about that briefly before the pod about the poor kid not wanting or getting banned for life and how that's not fair to do to a teenager.
Oh, yeah, the Liverpool pitch invader.
Yeah. I'm sure that child is probably fine. They're not going to do anything to him.
No, that kid's a legend, dude.
Yeah.
If anything, they're going to Adidas is going to give him his own clothing line.
I know. He's going to be, you know what he's going to be? He's going to be in the locker room for the City game doing the team talk.
He's definitely going to be in the DVD if you guys win the title.
Cover the DVD.
He's going to be featured.
What a moment though. That was hilarious.
Yeah, jokes aside, massive win for Arsenal. A loss would have put them within 2 points of Manchester City. Let City get within 2 points.
Within
of
2
Arsenal,
points of us,
should say. With a head-to-head face-off still in the cards. So that would have put a lot of pressure on y'all.
Huge pressure. And if even a draw would have been massive pressure because we still have a lot of big games. Arsenal can't get ahead of themselves. There's still big teams to play coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make you feel better when you can lose your game to City and still have a 2-point gap now instead of losing that game and having them pass you on goal difference.
Right.
Being level on points.
Right.
So that just, obviously mentally that gives you a huge weight off your chest. But yeah, the race is tight, but that felt like a huge moment in the race.
Yeah, Arsenal are starting to stack up these moments, these kind of fairy tale moments that I felt like kept happening to Liverpool when we finally won. And when seasons are coming together, you kind of feel momentum gathering. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You just keep getting these big moments that are like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, and I heard there were some people saying that I think it was one of the ex-United guys like Neville or something saying that he thought these high energy, high emotional moments would drain Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And would be a negative thing in the long run for this season for them. But I think Martin Keown came out pretty much immediately and said, like, no, like when we won in 2003, 2004, we had these moments all the time coming from behind.
Yeah.
And those moments made you feel like something special was happening. Like this wasn't meant to be. So, like, if anything, I think these guys are going to take it as inspiration that they can basically, they've proven they can get out of the tightest situations.
Yeah.
Under the highest possible pressure they could be under. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this team is basically growing up before everyone's eyes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to see if they can do it. You know, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, neutrals definitely, but a lot of fans outside of City fans will be invested in Arsenal's end of season here.
I think so.
Especially like at least on our side of the pond. Like, you know, we're as American fans, I think a lot of us would say, a lot of people, non-Arsenal fans would say, we want to see anyone but City win it this year.
Yeah. You know, just like F1 just kicked off this weekend, and Max Verstappen kind of strolled to victory.
Yeah.
And I was messaging Paco, like, God, I hope we're not in for another boring F1 season.
I know.
You hate when one team just looks like, oh, that's it. This is over.
Yeah.
It takes the fun out of it. And City have won 4 of the last 5 titles. It took miraculous effort from Liverpool to
finally get
wrestle
one.
the one.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't want the league to become that monotonous.
No, it's not fun for
maybe
anyone.
if a club organically deserved it and we're just amazing, but we know the truth at Manchester City here.
Yeah,
You
even
know.
like those United teams over the year, you got to say like they built those teams.
Yeah.
Most of those guys were like academy players
Right.
at the club.
I'm not saying a sports team can't build an era of a dynasty.
No,
you know what I
not at
mean?
all.
And have that can be a thing. Artificially inflated team, just dominating because they're not really playing by the same rules. That's a different thing.
That's a very different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the issues come in.
Yeah, we don't need to whine about it too much. Let's look ahead to the weekend to come.
Yeah.
This was an absolutely massive weekend that just happened, though. Just to recap, oh my God, the Arsenal win, the Liverpool demolition of United, Tottenham losing to Wolves,
Yep.
Chelsea getting their first win in a while. Man, what a round of results!
Yeah, crazy
Huge
weekend.
stuff. Bournemouth has to rebound from that kick in the balls at home, hosting Liverpool.
Yeah.
Liverpool
Coming off
Liverpool that just hit 7 past United.
Yep.
Do you think they're going to be able to put up as much of a fight as they gave you? Or do you think they're going to be exhausted and Liverpool have momentum now and we're going to steamroll them?
Oof. Early kickoff. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, Liverpool don't do steamrolls early in the morning.
They don't. Also, do you have Champions League this week or is that next week?
It comes back next week.
Okay. So at least you don't have that to deal with in the midweek. But yeah, I expect Bournemouth to do exactly something similar to what they were trying to do against Arsenal. 5-4-1 setup.
Yeah.
Even at home,
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna want to defend.
For sure.
Obviously, we've seen now what Liverpool can do offensively. But it's a different prospect doing it against a team that's just going to sit and defend weirdly, and then to doing it against United, who want to come out and play.
Right.
Obviously, I don't know. It's funny how that works, but in the league, it's always you never know what to predict in those kind of games. But I would see Liverpool probably walking out winners.
If Liverpool take any kind of team spirit and momentum from that big win we just had, I think we should win.
Yeah, you should win that game. still.
Otherwise, if the Liverpool of the majority of the season show up, then God only knows what'll happen.
yeah. But you are a healthier team now, and things seem to be trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
So you should see a fairly comfortable win.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's do predictions. James pointed out that it's boring. We don't. Basically, that's not at all how we said it. But people do like predictions.
Yeah.
For Bournemouth hosting Liverpool, I'm going to say Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 2.
I was gonna say 2-0 Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool.
Yeah.
Okay. Everton hosting Brentford. This is another one. I think one of the more interesting games of the weekend. Actually, we're not going to go through all these. We'll highlight a few games, but this is a cool one. Everton. It's funny. I almost said resurgent. They've still been dropping points, as I said, but I really do think they're looking better.
They do. They look a better team when you see them now. Even in like losses or drop points, they still seem like a more of a unit now.
This game is at Goodison, which is going to be a key component of their survival. However, they're up against Brentford, who are fighting for a European place.
Yep.
They've been heavily praised on this podcast, which we all know is kind of like Oprah stamping a book.
It's true. It's a seal of approval.
Brentford's great. You don't need us to tell you that by this point.
Yeah,
If you haven't caught onto the Brentford bandwagon yet, come on,
Yeah.
figure it out.
They're a good team. They're fun to watch.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction here?
I'm going 3-1 Brentford. I think Dyche is, as much as he's doing a lot to get this team back on site, I think Brentford's too good for him.
Yeah, I think Thomas Frank's a pretty savvy manager. I don't think he's going to be naive enough to fall for Dyche tricks.
No,
and his team definitely has the talent to kind of brute force a win.
Yeah, I think with teams in Everton's position, I feel like they almost have an easier time against the bigger clubs because they come in with more arrogance and unexpected, expecting to win. Whereas Brentford, maybe not expecting to win, but they know that they can win if they play their football, even away from home. They should be able to win that game. They might not have that cockiness that could get some of the bigger clubs in trouble.
Right, that's true. That's a good way of putting it. Let's talk about Leicester and Chelsea. Two teams that are kind of floundering at the moment. I know Chelsea just came off a win against Leeds.
Yeah, but not terribly impressive.
Yeah, it's only a little bit melodramatic to say both these teams are in free fall.
Yeah. I mean, they've both haven't been able to put a string of results together. Neither team really scoring a lot of goals currently.
Yeah, this is a tough one to predict.
It is. I want to say, I don't know, like, does Chelsea get unlocked by getting that one goal and that win under their belt finally? And
I'm still not convinced by Chelsea. However, I do think Leicester might be even bigger of a mess right now.
It does.
Leicester really seem to be unraveling.
And defensively, I think Leicester can be taken apart.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the chance for Chelsea to break out and their new signings to finally start scoring.
Yeah, I might go Leicester 1, Chelsea 3.
This is a tough one to call. I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester.
Okay.
I think Chelsea. I'm gonna say Chelsea score first.
Okay.
And Leicester come back and win 2-1.
Okay. Right on. Tottenham Hotspur host Nottingham Forest. If Tottenham stick to traditions, they should smash Forest. Probably 4-0.
Yep, coming off a bad result.
Yeah. You would say on paper, just in terms of squads, they're the stronger squad, even though Forest have like 70 players, I think.
Yeah, they have 1 million players to choose from.
Remove the context of any kind of recent results, and just on paper, Tottenham should be smashing Forest. Their form has been so hot and cold, it's ridiculous. But it's also been so consistently hot and cold that you would pretty much
almost bet on them winning.
Being hot, right?
Yeah.
Like my prediction, I think, is going to be 3-0 Tottenham.
I mean, Tottenham need a result here. So it's an important game for them to stop them from falling down into a tighter battle with Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool beating Manchester United means that they're only 3 points back from Tottenham with a game in hand.
Yeah.
So they are knocking on the door of the top four. Just a couple weeks ago on this podcast, I was joking
seemed
about
unthinkable.
potentially. I was like joking about looking at the top four as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Now Tottenham got to be sweating it. It's funny. I actually went on the Tottenham subreddit to see if they were posting anything about sweating it. If you ever like to just kind of bathe in some Schadenfreude and other teams' subreddits,
Yeah.
Tottenham's is always one of the funniest ones.
Tottenham's is always funny.
They had a poll going that just asked, "Are you still interested in our season?"
Oh my God.
In March, dude, and they're in fourth place. There's still so much to play for.
They're fighting for a Champions League place.
They were gauging general interest in watching the rest of the season,
That's insane.
right? I thought that was very
That's
Tottenham-y.
it's so funny. That's also shockingly spoiled of Tottenham fans.
Right?
How long have they even been relevant in the top four contention? And they're bored of a top four race.
Right?
Shocking.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's pretty smug.
Yeah. That is very funny though. Oh, did I say my scoreline? I didn't. I'm gonna go 2-0 Tottenham.
2-0 Tottenham. Got it. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to Sunday. Huge kickoff. Fulham hosting Arsenal. Alex is going to have to be less diplomatic about Fulham this week.
Yeah. This is gonna be a tough one for me. I think it'll be a fun game. I think it'll be an open game. Bruce has some things to say down there as well. Fulham are at home. Yeah, I mean, I can't predict anything but an Arsenal win there. I'm gonna say I'll say 3-1 Arsenal
Okay.
at Fulham. It's a tough one though. Fulham could pull a shock result out.
Because we just lost or watched Fulham lose, I'm trying to gauge. I'm trying to decide. Like, I'm like, are we about to see a little Fulham slump, or am I just being reactive to the game we literally
We just
finished
watched.
watching?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. Yeah, I can see Fulham giving us a hard time defensively and getting at least a goal out of us. It'll be a fun one, though. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think so. You know, in the past, I would have said kind of a cliche thing about Marco Silva's team being naive and Fulham being a naive club, and this actually could be an opportunity for Arsenal to get some goal differential padding going.
do a
like
4
go
or
out
5
there and
nil.
spank them.
Yeah.
But this Fulham has really shown a lot of steel this year.
It's true.
So
It does seem
I
like a
wouldn't
different
take it
team.
for. I would not take it for granted.
No, not at all. Yeah, like I 100% agree with that. Yeah, they're very much a different team than they have been in years past coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
The remainder of the Sunday games, honestly, don't seem that compelling to me. We've got Man United and Southampton, West Ham and Aston Villa, Newcastle and Wolves. It's hard to see anything but Man United bouncing back hard against Southampton. I expect them to win by a couple.
Yeah, that seems like a good comeback game. They're kind of lucky to be bouncing back against Southampton.
When Liverpool were putting in those last couple goals, probably number 5, 6, 7, Southampton were probably like, "Fuck, man, take it easy."
Yeah, they're gonna
They're
get
gonna
real
take
mad.
that out on us.
Yeah, they're not gonna look forward to that one.
Come on, you really needed to put a 7th past them.
Yeah, exactly. Just poking the bear now. Now they're all fired up.
West Ham hosting Aston Villa. This is tough. West Ham are starting to look a little Southampton-y. Their last 2 results have been a 4-0 win and a 4-0 loss.
Yeah, unpredictable team. Sitting just outside the relegation zone. I think, let me look at these. Yeah, I think Villa are on a bit of a bad run. So I think it's a big game for Unai as well to not get pulled down into that relegation fight. I mean, they're on 34 points, so in theory they're safe.
Sure.
But they've been on a slide for sure. So West Ham could pick up some pretty crucial points here.
In terms of shifting momentums, Newcastle Wolves is also kind of huge. Newcastle fallen pretty firmly out of the title race, definitely, and even the top 4 race, really. They're falling down into the top 6 now. Yeah, they've really, really kind of lost steam.
Yeah, they're not far off fourth, but based on form, it seems like they're much farther off.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if Howe can get that back on track or if they'll continue the free fall.
Yeah, I don't want to prematurely write them off. They still have games in hand. They can
true.
definitely claw themselves right back into it. They've just haven't really seemed, at the beginning of the season, they were so effervescent. We were like, how did this project immediately just be successful?
Yeah.
How
'cause
are they instantly good? What the hell happened?
Yeah.
It was shocking how good they were, and that has definitely cooled off a little bit. But that's not to say it won't level out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they could turn it around.
Yeah, and Wolves, have kind of been a target there for the taking this season,
But,
but
yeah.
have recently started to kind of glue some form together. I don't know.
Another team that has on paper a very strong lineup. And maybe it's just like those players have earned credit from the last few seasons, but I still feel like they can pull a result out sometimes.
Yeah.
But I would probably this is a tough one to call.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna say 0-0 on this one.
Interesting. Man, Eddie Howe's starting lineup so unpredictable. I'm like, if he plays Maximin and Isak is up front, I feel like I'm gonna say
There's gonna be goals in it.
yeah. I'm gonna say we get a wild one, and I'm gonna say 3-2 Newcastle. I'm predicting a wild one.
Cool. I would enjoy that.
I hope so. Is that it for the weekend?
That's it for the Prem. Yeah.
Nice.
Then next week we've got Champions League games coming back, and then even a little bit of Europa League.
Europa League's back.
Alex is super excited.
I can't wait. I feel like we were teased because the playoff for the Champions League clubs falling out into the Europa League. We had to wait for that to find out our draw, so I'm very excited to have Europa League back.
Yeah, me too. Love European football. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Live for it.
Yeah, it's the best.
Cool. All right, y'all. I'm back to 100%. Soccer Situations is going to explode any minute now.
Yeah, yeah. It's COVID. He's survived COVID.
Check out our website. We have a new web shop up with some pretty cool merch on it.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Buying merch is probably the best way to support the podcast right now if you want to. We're definitely not big enough to monetize anything in terms of streaming. So, yeah, buy some swag.
Yeah, buy some merch.
And it's actually really cool stuff. Take a look. Soccersituations.com.
Looks profesh.
Yeah. Otherwise, do your best to share the podcast. Just
Yep.
give it to one dingus.
Yeah.
Lie about our credibility.
Yeah, exactly. Tell them we're experts. Pundits.
Yeah, exactly. But have a good week, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Soccer Situation. Soccer Situation.